Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm here for Ball Sports, brothersonsports.com, where black men control the conversation. Now, this is a conversation that I believe needs to happen amongst brothers so that we can seek out the truth and not necessarily talk in terms of any sort of clear political agenda or anything like that. You saw recently that Ray Rice for the Baltimore Ravens was basically booted from his team, waived from his team for punching his fiancee in the face in an elevator. She was knocked out cold. It was an ugly incident. The video emerged, and after the video was released was when the Ravens decided to cut him. Now, I want to talk more deeply about some of the implications of this, as well as information that relates to what the fiancee did during the incident. CBS Baltimore was reporting that she spit in his face. And that leads to an even deeper debate and a deeper controversy. So to really kind of dig through this, I reached out to my respected colleague, attorney Damario Solomon-Simmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Damario is not just a great attorney, but he's also a former college athlete who played for the Oklahoma Sooners, and he's just a brilliant brother and a good person. How you doing today, Damario?
I'm doing good, Dr. Watkins. It's good to see you and appreciate talking to you this morning.
The appreciation is mine. Let's start with just what happened with Rice. From what I understand, the NFL originally did not punish him more harshly enough. At least that was the criticism people had, that he was still able to kind of go on. I think he had a very short suspension, and then it was sort of back to business as usual. But then the video emerges, and the Ravens drop him from the team. And a lot of people aren't having any sympathy for Ray Rice, especially after watching that video. It was so hard to watch. What were your thoughts about this as both a legal expert and as a black man?
Obviously, like you said, it was very difficult to watch. I can't imagine hitting my wife in that form or fashion, and I certainly can't imagine allowing her to lay face first with a skirt up. That was just really unconscionable, very difficult to watch. And obviously, once that tape came out, I think Baltimore Ravens and NFL had to do what they did. The question has to be, though, did they actually see that video before the world saw it? So I think it's kind of hard to believe that they didn't see it, and I think it's more likely that now that we've seen it, all of us have seen it. It was like, okay, we cannot have any affiliation with Ray Rice, and so it's a bad deal. It's a sad thing. I mean, it looks to me that maybe maybe this happens more often than we know about in the Ray Rice household. This was in a public location, so it just makes you think. Obviously, I'm an attorney, so I like to deal with facts. I don't like to have a lot of speculation, but it does make you think if they were comfortable enough to have that type of altercation in public, what's going on behind closed doors?
Yeah, it definitely shows you that the relationship might have been a mess, as a lot of young relationships are. I mean, I don't know how old Ray Rice is, but he can't be more than, 28?
Yeah. I think he is 28 years old, which that really speaks to something. Well, go ahead with your point. We'll get to that.
No, I mean, I just think about, a lot of people I know in that age group, they still haven't yet learned really how to truly love each other. And I think one of the things that we always tell young brothers that we interact with is that you really shouldn't put your hands on a woman in any situation, especially when you have a distinct physical advantage and your life is not threatened, etc. And those are kind of the gentleman's code of conduct. A gentleman it's just a punk move to hit a woman almost any situation. I mean, unless she pulled a gun on you or something like that, then you might have to punch somebody to get out of the situation.
Right.
Now, the question at that point is, does a man have an obligation to act like a gentleman when the woman has not acted like a lady? A lady does not spit in a man's face. She does not punch a man. She does not attack a man physically when they're in a relationship. And CBS Baltimore is saying that she spit in his face.
Right.
Now here's the issue for me. Let's say Ray Rice was in a gay relationship, and he had a mate who was the exact same size, strength, everything as his fiance, and his male mate spit in his face, and then he punched him out cold. Would people see it differently in that situation because his mate happened to have a penis than they do when his mate has a vagina? I mean, do you think that there's some sort of gender bias here?
No, I don't think it's I think that's kind of a convoluted question and kind of got two different issues. The first issue dealing with, does a man have an obligation to not hit a woman if he's being punched in spit in the face? And I would say he does have an obligation to not put his hands on someone because they spit in your face. In fact, I would argue that just because anyone was to spit in your face, legally You may not have a right to defend yourself back with a punch to the face, because legally, you got to remember, you have an absolute right to self-defense, and you have an absolute right to meet force with force. So a spit in the face does not equal a punch in the mouth legally. And so I think even, and particularly for a man, a woman on a man. So I don't think that gives him legal justification or moral justification to act in the way that he did. Now, to the second part of your question, would it matter if it was a male on a male? Well, again, we have to look at the legal implication, the legal justification. Do you have the legal right to punch someone in the mouth because they spit on you? I don't know if that's the same level of force, right? That is a battery. Spitting on someone is the unlawful touching of another, so that is legally a battery. But legally, I don't know if you have a right to respond with a punch to the face. Now, if someone is physically attacking you, you have a legal right to defend yourself. We had a very similar case that just occurred here in Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma. Our number one football recruit, Joe Mixon, running back out of California, was the number one all-purpose running back in the nation. On his 18th birthday last month, he goes into a club down in Norman. He's been working out. He's a big guy, 6'2", 210. He goes into a club. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And in that club, there's a young lady who is also a university student who is already on probation. She also has other charges pending against her. And she starts an altercation. Now, all undisputed facts, and there's a video of this also, the undisputed facts is that this young lady starts an altercation with Joe Mixon, a verbal altercation. Mr. Mixon tries to walk away. The young lady runs up on him. Then she pushes Joe Mixon. At that point, he turns around and he kind of lunges at her like, you need to leave me alone. And in response, she slaps him. And in response, he punches her. He busts her face up. And Joe Mixon is charged with public outrage. He's kicked off the football team, and now he has a misdemeanor charge pending against him. So the question in that case, which is different in Joe and Ray Rice, is he actually was physically assaulted, and I believe he had a right to physically defend himself. And now he has a charge, and the young lady who started the altercation, who created the assault and battery, she's not charged. And I think in that manner, there is a gender bias going on there, because if that was two men, either both men would be charged or both men would not be charged. And I think that's the difference of gender bias in the Joe Mixon case versus the Ray Rice case.
Interesting. Well, I think that is a very good distinction there. Because first of all, we all know that. I think that what's kind of happening is, first of all, we can agree. I think that there's a difference, or there can be a difference between legality and morality, right? Just because it's legal don't mean it's ethical, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And I think that what maybe happens with some people is that there's this internal radar that just says, look, if you're a real man, if you whatever that means, you're just not supposed to hit a woman. You can't do that, even if she hits you. We know that she does not pose a physical threat to Ray Rice. Neither did, when you talk about Nixon, so you said 6'2", 210.
Right.
There's no physical threat present, but at the same time, I think that when you talk about the punishment fitting the crime, I see that on two levels. Number one, punching somebody out because, especially a woman, because that woman hit you. I think that is excessive force. That's excessive retaliation, right? As you mentioned, force should be met with force. It should be equal force. You spit on me, I spit on you. You slap me, I slap you. You punch me at level 2, I punch you at level 2. Not you punch me at level 2, I punch you at level 12, right? Which, because NFL players, you can almost say that they're similar to maybe MMA fighters, anybody else, where their hand should almost be illegal because they are so strong, so much stronger than everybody else. Yeah. But then on the next level, though, it seems that you also have excessive retaliation or a punishment not fitting the crime. When you talk about how we as a society and how the criminal justice system responds in these domestic violence situations, right? You talked about Nixon. A situation occurs where a woman clearly has provoked him. There's video evidence showing that this woman didn't just provoke him, didn't just run her mouth. She came at him physically and attacked him physically. He responds like a lot of 18-year-olds would.
Right.
And you treat him like he is Charles Manson. Like he is the worst pariah ever. He does not deserve. You are taking away his whole future by putting him off that football team and treating him as someone who should never play football for anybody anywhere. Because every school he goes to now, or I don't know what the situation is with him, but I imagine any situation that he's in, somebody's going to Google it and say, "Oh, we don't want an abuser on our campus," right? So so
Right.
so that's just crazy. That's incredibly disrespectful, and I think it even goes up to the White House. You saw that, when this incident occurred with Ray Rice, the White House and Obama made a clear, definitive statement, clearly taking one side of the issue, as opposed to even considering that there might be another side. But yet, when Michael Brown was shot, their response was very, very different. It was very balanced, very neutral, which I think that's the better response, to be honest with you. But it's because you don't know all the facts. But at the same time, it does seem that when politics kind of gets in the fray, you get people making these very irrational, unethical assertions to support a political agenda. Is that kind of what you're seeing?
Well, no, I think I would. I think it's different when you talk about what the White House said, and I have not seen specifically the White House's statement on Ray Rice. But I think the distinction is when that video evidence come out, we don't have that type of video evidence in Ferguson. You and I both agree that it appears, based on the witness and information we do have about Ferguson, that Michael Brown was shot with his hands up. It was an illegal shooting, and we both agree that the officer Darren Wilson should be charged with murder and be tried in a court of law. I think we're in 100% agreement there. But there is no video evidence so far of the actual shooting. We have evidence, video of Michael Brown laying in the street for 4.5 hours, which in and of itself is just disgusting and just repulsive. But I think the difference is in this Ray Rice situation. Previously in February, we had video of him dragging her out of the elevator. We didn't know exactly how that happened. If they were in there just squabbling, we didn't know. But when this video came out yesterday morning and showed that this lady, she lunged at him, he punches her, she hits her head on the guardrail, and then he drags her and lays her face first on the floor with a skirt up. I don't see those as the same thing. I think it's easier for the White House or anyone to say that was 100% wrong. And I don't think that the punishment that Ray Rice received, being that he was suspended indefinitely and that his contract was terminated by the Baltimore Ravens, I don't consider that to be excessive based on the facts that came out yesterday. The question is, again, did Baltimore or did the NFL not already have that information? Which is hard for me to believe that they didn't have the information, because they have very smart lawyers. They have very sharp lawyers who know they could have done what's called a Freedom of Information Act, FIO, and got that tape and had an opportunity to review it. The police had it. The prosecutors had it. So it's very difficult for me to believe that they didn't ask for it or they didn't actually review it. But if they did not have it, if they did actually see that video for the first time yesterday, I don't think you can walk in that locker room and say he can be a part of our team right now. Now, remember, he's only suspended indefinitely, meaning it could be one game, it could be 1 year, it could be forever. I suspect that Ray Rice will get another, his suspension will be lifted, maybe in a year, maybe in 2 years. Just like, we had Michael Vick, went to federal penitentiary. I thought that was excessive, actually, to go for how many years he went, but he went to federal penitentiary. He got his 2 years, he came back and he played. You had Dante Stallworth, an NFL player who actually was drunk or had alcohol in his system at least, and ran over and killed a man. He was out for a year. We had Leonard, oh my God, we had a St. Louis Rams defensive end, I can't remember his last name, in 1999. He killed a woman as a drunk driver.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah.
Right. He sat out a year. He came back. So, I mean, people can be redeemed. This is America. The problem Ray Rice has, though, he's already 28, 27, 28. We know the NFL running backs, by the time they hit 30, on average, their career starts to go down anyway. So if he's out 2 years, 2 years and not playing, he's 30, it's going to be real difficult for him. But I don't personally believe that his punishment has been excessive. And I think it's different than Mixon because, again, Mixon is 18. Mixon was clearly retaliating after being physically assaulted. And I think it's important to know that Mixon is being charged by the individual who actually created the altercation. It's not being charged. And I think that's the distinction.
Well, I think that's a very good point too. You have to really ask yourself, we know that a tenet of equality for women, and we can talk specifically about feminism if we want, even though I think that feminism has a lot of issues that they need to address. Because I'm not a feminist, but I'm a familyist. I believe in us doing things that are going to make our family stronger, not creating divisions. However, I think one issue that you have to really look at is you have to ask yourself if we're advocating for a woman's right to self determination, her right to choose in every area of her life. Can you advocate for that while at the same time telling this woman who is clearly saying, "Don't press charges, get my husband fired. I did things to cause this to happen. It was partly my fault." How can you then, as an advocate for her, then say, "Well, what you think doesn't matter. We're still going to throw the book at him. We're still going to try to destroy him, even if the victim herself doesn't want that to happen." We understand how abuse occurs, right? Some people get into situations where they for whatever reason, keep going back to the abuser. We know all that. But at the same time, if she is, and you mentioned that's an important distinction, right? In the Nixon case, the victim is trying to press charges, right? But in this case, the victim is saying, "Leave my husband alone." How do we sort of deal with that?
Well, and I think another important distinction in Mixon versus Ray Rice is Ray Rice was his fiance. This is someone he has a child with. This is someone he has a relationship with. Where in the Joe Mixon case, this was a total stranger that he did not know. He had never seen before. And so I think that it's reasonable if a total stranger runs up on you, pushes you and slaps you, and you don't know this individual. I mean, I think it's way more reasonable to respond with some level of force because you really don't know what's going on there, okay? Versus in this scenario, again, this is a relationship where these individuals have a relationship, they know each other. So the thought process may be far as trying to say, well, Miss Rice, that's her name now, she's married to Ray Rice. She may be under some type of undue duress because of the relationship. She may be a battered woman. She may be someone who's been internalizing victimhood. I mean, I've done cases like this. I've seen this. I've seen women who are getting pummeled, who then will cuss out their family members and their friends. They say, "You don't understand. He does love me. This was a one-time deal." So that happens a lot. So I think you gotta really balance that. I just will say personally, I don't have daughters. I don't have any children, but I would find it very difficult personally if that was my daughter to see that video and then be in the same room with Mr. Rice if that was my daughter. And I mean, what I mean by being in the same room and not putting myself in a situation where I'm going to go to jail. I think it would be very difficult for me to be a teammate of Mr. Rice based on what I saw. I would need to know that he had to give some type of anger management training, and then like you said, if there was some substance abuse, if they were drinking, if they were high, they need some counseling for that. Does she need to have some type of counseling too? Because on the video, she is being aggressive. She clearly is having an altercation. Maybe she needs some anger management counseling also. But again, it's no justification for the way and in the manner that he punched her and then allowed his woman, his mother, his children, to lay face first on the floor like that. That is almost as bad as the punching, because it says to me, I don't care about you. It's not like I mean, the punch is over. The initial aggression is over. Okay, that's unjustifiable, but emotions go run high. But after it's over with, you lay her face first, as if she's just a rag doll and nobody you even care about, and she's the mother of your children. And so I think that was unconscionable. I think the punishment, based on what we saw yesterday, is fair. But I do hope, because I do believe in second chances, I do believe in rehabilitation. I hope he gets the help that he needs. I hope he gets an opportunity to show that he is truly wanting to fight domestic violence. And I hope she also gets the help that she needs, and she also be a fight against domestic violence, because no one should be putting their hands on each other, period.
And I agree with you 100%. I think that, for the sake of young brothers that might be watching, I think that's the clear implication. If you're in a situation where somebody provokes you or somebody puts their hands on you, get out of the situation. Don't think that you can retaliate and as a black man be treated the same as you would if you were a white woman or a white man or anybody else. They're not going to do that. In fact, there was a video. I don't know if you saw this, Damario. There was a video of a brother that where he recorded on his camera phone his girlfriend attacking him with a bat because she was mad. She was mad because another girl was at his house and she had a bat and hit him with the bat. And he said, "I'm going to tell the police what you did," because he didn't even touch her. But when she heard that, she got in her car, drove to the police station, told the cops that he hit her. The cops went and locked him up. And when the boy's mother tried to go and show the video to the cops wouldn't even look at the video. So this obviously he needed a good attorney like you, but still, it just shows you the extent to which it's easy for people to believe that a black man is a monster. Now, but simultaneously, I think that that point does stand that Ray Rice he did go overboard in his response. What I'm really looking to see is what this punishment actually turns out to become. We think right now the punishment makes sense based on the idea that he will be able to redeem himself, that he'll eventually get a chance to work again and support his family. I wouldn't be surprised if Ray Rice never gets back into the NFL because it's political. It's a political football now. If the extreme feminist groups went out, if they get their way, they don't want Ray Rice to ever work again as a football player anywhere, right? But I think that a more measured response is one that fits what you're saying. Let him try to redeem himself, get him that counseling, the drug alcohol abuse issue. I was telling you before the video that's why I don't drink, because if I don't want to be locked up for something I did that when I was drunk, or to be held accountable for something that somebody caught on video that I was doing while I was drunk. Because I've actually had, it's funny, I've actually had, believe it or not, you're gonna laugh when I tell you this, brother. I've had two attorneys email us at Your Black World saying, you reported a story about things I did while I was drunk. I have a reputation to maintain. Could you please take that down? And we took it down just to be nice. But I kid you, both of them happen to be lawyers. And my thought is, like, why the hell are you putting yourself in situations where you're doing things that are going to destroy your reputation like that? But then that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that for young brothers, that's another piece of advice. Be careful when it comes to drugs and alcohol, because crazy things go down in those situations.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say, man. There's a lot of lessons learned. I'm curious to see how it turns out. So you really think Ray Rice is going to get another chance?
Well, I think the history that we've seen before in the NFL. I mean, people have killed people, right? Josh Brent just killed his teammate for the Dallas Cowboys by being excessively drunk and driving excessively fast, and he kills his teammate. He gets convicted of involuntary manslaughter. He does his prison time, and now he's going to serve 10-game suspension, and he'd be eligible to play again. So as bad as what Ray Rice did, and it's bad, it's not as bad as killing someone, right?
Yeah,
and
but he killed a black man. I think that's a whole different. If Josh Brent had murdered a white woman, even if it was by accident, or better yet, abused a white woman, I just really think that the political implications are very different. It's like the Michael Vick thing with the dogs. It comes down to what white America wants. And it's not even a racist thing to say that, but that's where the power lies. With Michael Vick, a lot of black folks had a hard time understanding, why are you trying to destroy this man's life over what happened with some dogs, right? But then on the other side, there are people that love their dogs. That said, this man, there was even Tucker Carlson on Fox News even said Michael Vick deserved the death penalty for killing dogs, right? But if Michael Vick had killed a black man, I don't think that people would have reacted as harshly as they did when he killed a dog. I think the same thing is true here. You have similar to what you might call the OJ complex. When OJ Simpson killed Nicole Brown. Was it Nicole Brown Smith? Or was that her last name?
Nicole Brown Simpson.
Simpson, thank you. Yeah, Simpson. Yeah, sorry about that. But when he killed Nicole, it wasn't about the fact that he killed somebody. It wasn't about the fact that he killed a woman. It was about the fact that he killed a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, beautiful white woman. If he killed a black man or if he killed a black woman, that case probably would have only been in the national media for about 3 days. Am I right or am I right?
Well, right. Well, I think I would agree with you that no doubt that the value of black male life in this country is devalued and it's less than others. That's a fact. I mean, that's just a fact, and I agree with that. I don't know if I agree that if it would have been if Ray Rice would be treated differently in this particular instance, if his girlfriend or his fiance would have been black or white, because I just thought of the young man Leonard Little out of St. Louis Rams who was drunk and killed a woman, and she was a white woman. Of course, this was back in the early 2000s before social media and that type of stuff was much bigger. And, the 24-hour news cycle that is really, really impactful in everything that we do in today's society. But again, he was suspended for a certain amount of time and allowed to come back. So, I don't know if I would agree that it would be different in this particular case because, again, it's the video, it's the culture that we live in where everything is about what's hot now, what can be tweeted, what can be blogged, what can be sensationalized. And this is just really sensationalized. I mean, this is really good for those who are really into that. You and I think, are more concerned about how to use this as a learning tool for our young brothers who we are both trying to do everything we can to make sure they become great men and great citizens and be safe and productive in this society that's many times set up against them. And then number two, just to anyone to kind of understand and learn from this type of situation. But I don't think most people that are talking about this issue or writing about this issue really care about it beyond the fact that it's going to get them more likes, more clicks, and more ratings. And so I think we have to remember that. This is a juicy story. Ray Rice is a bona fide, as I was telling my wife, he's a bona fide NFL superstar. He's not some bench player. He's not some second team, special teams player like I was at OU. He's a bona fide superstar, a first line person. He made lots of money in endorsements. That's over with. No more endorsements for a while. But again, we saw Michael Vick getting endorsements back. He lost his contract this year for $4 million. That's gone.
Wow.
Think about that.
Wow.
You set your life. Your life is set up. Your budget is set up on a $4 million budget, and it's gone. It's done. It's zero. Okay. So that is. So the punishment is tough. It's tough. But I think if he does all the right things, in a year, he come back and file for reinstatement. It may not happen, but in 2 years, because again, there's going to be another big story, and people are going to move on. And he get an opportunity, and then at that point, it's about his skills have been eroded to a point that now he won't be able to actually make it on a team and be able to make the money. So I'm hopeful. They do have a daughter, this family, and I'm hopeful that this family can heal for themselves, but more importantly for their daughter. I'm hopeful that they will be able to find the type of employment to be able to maintain the lifestyle that they've set up for their daughter and for themselves. So I do want those things to happen. And I do hope that this is a huge, huge lesson for young men, black or white, and particularly athletes, to understand the spotlight is on you. You got to do the right thing at all times, and just take yourself out of bad situations.
Well, that leads to the last question I asked, and I'll let you get back to your busy day. The first thought that I have is you wonder the fact that this situation has become so politicized. You wonder if there are people, if you talk about people that want Ray Rice to be punished, how many of those people really want that family to remain intact? How many of those people really want her to stay with him? Or, because I think tomorrow if she announced, I'm divorcing his ass, I can't stand this man, I want him out of my house, I want him out of my daughter's life, there will be people that would applaud that. They would applaud this little girl losing her daddy. They would applaud this family breaking up, right? But then there are other people, I think, especially those who are concerned about the black community, who would want to see this family remain intact, and they see Ray Rice as a redeemable human being who made a horrible mistake, but can be they can be taught more appropriate ways to deal with these situations. That's the first point I want to make with that. But then the question I want to ask you is this: just from a legal standpoint, I had actually a woman say to me in a message. She said, "I don't think that what a person does off the job should cause them to lose their job." And now we know the implications. We know that the NFL has a brand to protect. They don't want their brand to be associated with domestic violence. So they had to respond in a way that considered the public reaction to all of this. But what if Ray Rice was just a regular guy, construction worker or a mailman, and he did the same thing, got in the same situation, got arrested, and was paying his debt to society? Is it legal for his job to just say, you know what, this guy got arrested, we don't want an abuser in our workplace. We're going to fire him. Can companies do that to people?
Yeah, okay, that's an excellent question, and it's two answers. Legally, in a state like Oklahoma, it's an at-will state. Okay, so that means you can be fired for any reason that is not illegal. Okay, so you cannot be fired because you're black or because of your race or because of your gender or because you have some type of disability that's not germane to the job. Okay, those things are illegal pursuant to state and federal law, particularly Title VII. So in an at-will state, you can be fired for anything. So you can be fired because you came to work and they don't like the color, they don't like my orange tie because they went to OU. They can fire me legally for that. And is that a bad deal? Yeah, but it's legal. Now every state is not an at-will state, but Oklahoma is an at-will state. But then you have to also look at what does your contract say. The NFL, as an attorney who's represented several NFL athletes and been at the forefront on helping negotiate and being a part of NFL negotiations, I know that NFL contracts have a morality clause in those contracts. And that contract gives the team and the NFL the right to discipline you for actions that you take outside of the field. That's actually a part of their collective bargaining agreement. So they're within their legal right, yes, to do what they're doing because it's been collectively bargained and it's in his individual contract. So that is a very good question. And legally, the answer is yes. They have a legal right to do that. And legally, the answer is yes. If your company is in an at-will state, you can be fired for things that happen outside of the job. People don't really understand that a lot, but those are the legal ramifications and the legal realities that we deal with.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm now fully informed, as usual, I always learn so much when I talk to you. And I want to say I appreciate you sharing so much of your knowledge and information. And I want everybody to know that if you want to follow Damario, you can find him at his website, which is
SolomonSimmons.com. SolomonSimmons.com. It's SolomonSimmons.com.
right. And what's your Twitter feed?
Solo Speaks Truth.
All right. Solo Speaks Truth and SolomonSimmons.com. You guys heard it. I vouch for this brother. He's a good man, and I wanted to speak to him first and foremost on this issue so that I could try to understand not what the political truth is, what what all the political back and forth is, but really understand what the ethical truth is here. And it sounds to me that some certain people have overreacted, and I encourage everybody who's following this to really formulate your own opinion and don't let your opinion be driven by what's popular, what's political, and all this other stuff. You got to think for yourself. This is Damario Solomon-Simmons, a Tulsa attorney at law. Respected guy. I want you to go check him out. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm here reporting for Ball Sports. That's brothersonsports.com, where black men control the conversation. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.